And we'll call the March 19th golly, what happened to that sound? Got it down a little bit? Okay. And we'll call the March 19th, 2015 Daviess Fiscal Court meeting to order. Commissioner Koger, would you lead us in a prayer and the pledge?
Bow your heads, please. Our Heavenly Father, please watch over our community, the homeless and those who are in the hospital to a speedy recovery. Protect us from all harm. We humbly thank you for all gifts which we receive from you. We ask that you watch over all those to protect us, especially those men and women who serve in our armed forces, law enforcement, fire departments, and all emergency services. We ask for wisdom, understanding, and courage to make right decisions for all of our citizens. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that prayer. I'm still getting a feedback up here. This is test. Okay, that was just a report. We don't need a motion or a second. Next item.
Item 2, consideration for approval, minutes of the March 9, 2015 court meeting.
Motion approved. Second.
I have a motion second. Commissioners, you had a copy of the minutes in your packet sometime. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
B, all claims for all departments.
Motion approved. Second.
Again, Commissioners, you had a copy of all the bills due and payable to Daviess County Fiscal Court. Do you have any questions at this time? If you do, you'll have to wait till the treasurer gets back. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
C, Memorandum of Agreement with Sazerac Distillers, LLC regarding the expansion of Glenmore Distilleries.
Motion approved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Claude, you want to talk to us about the resolution? David, is that you or both of you? Okay, Claude, do it.
Judge. Really all we're doing is changing the name, and they've changed their name from Glenmore Distillery to Sazerac Distillers, LLC, and just acknowledging that the new name is obligated under both ordinances, both for the expansion that they did and for the occupational license fees that we agreed to do, as well as the
Okay.
as well.
And this is in regard to the economic development incentive.
Yes,
that was
and,
given
to
to
the,
them.
and to the occupational license fee exemption for
Okay.
the additional
So that they
employees.
could get their KAD.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
David.
then also, Judge, as you recall, we set up a special taxing district.
Yes, correct.
This also takes care of that. It takes care of both the memorandum of agreement for the economic development grant and the special district that we set up.
Question or comment by the commissioners? Question or comment of the public? Being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Joe, you're going to come up in and you better bring good news. See ya. Next item, Jenny. I did not. We're going to talk about you in a minute. Next item.
D, apply for the 2015-2016 Kentucky Pride Fund Recycling Grant.
Motion approved.
I have a motion second. David, I hope you can talk to us about this.
Yes, I can. We're applying out of the Pride Fund to purchase two 30-yard open-top containers for our recycling operations at the West Daviess County landfill. If you recall, last year we put in for a grant for two, and we got one, and we put up at the convenience center for metal recycling. So this is to try to get two for our West County landfill. It's to hold the recyclables and the roll-offs that we have there currently are wearing out.
Okay, does this require a match by the court?
This is 100% grant.
Okay. Question or comment by commission? Question or comment by the public? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
E, transfer Daniel Thurman from a service technician in the Department of Public Works to truck driver in the Department of Solid Waste effective March 23, 2015.
Move approved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Mark, is that you? David?
I can. This again is to this is not a new position. It is to fill a vacant one. As you recall, last meeting we approved transfer of a truck driver from the transfer station to service tech administration here in the building. So this is to fill that position. And Mr. Thurman has a high recommendation from the Department of Public Works. They are very sad to see him leave there employ.
Okay. Question or comment by the commissioners? Being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
E, transfer Daniel Thurman from service technician in the Department of Public Works advertise for service technician in the Department of Public Works if not filled internally.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Commissioners, again, this is just advertised for that service tech, and that's to replace Mr. Thurman. Any question or comment? Being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Item 3, consideration for appointment A. David Smith as the Daviess County Deputy Alcoholic Beverage Administrator, term through 1915 to 1/1/19.
Motion approved. Second.
I have a motion second. Commissioners, this hasn't been a problem in the past, but these past 2 or 3 months since I spent a lot of time in Frankfurt, wasn't here. Invariably, I would leave Owensboro and David would call and say, I have another application for an alcoholic beverage license. We are by law allowed to appoint a deputy alcoholic beverage administrator. Since David is here 99% of the time when I'm not, it would be my recommendation that we appoint Mr. Smith as the deputy alcoholic beverage administrator. He will consult with me verbally on everything. It's just that this way he can sign it and it'll be legal. Any question or comment? Question or comment by the public? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
B, Matt Cloud to Owensville Davis County Convention and Visitors Bureau. He's filling an unexpired term of Megan Mingus, term 3/1915 to 6/30/16.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion second. Commissioners, Megan Mingus served us for a couple of terms, an excellent job. I think, Commissioner, that she's changing careers, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, she's doing right now, she's dropping out so she can study. She's getting her master's degree.
Okay.
She's spending a lot of time doing that.
Okay, and Mr. McLeod was one of 3 names submitted to me as by the conductor revised statute by the CB, and he's the one that we chose to take Megan's place. I know that Matt will do a good job going forward. Any question or comment? Being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
C, Duke Smith to the Parks Board, term 4/1/15 to 4/1/19.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion second. Again, Commissioners, Duke Smith is a reappointment to Parks Board. Duke has been a faithful member. He attends all the meetings, and I know he'll do as good a job going forward as he's done in the past. Any question or comment? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
D, Steve Lewis to the Parks Board, 4/1/15 to 4/1/19.
Move to approve. Second.
Again, Commissioners, Stephen Lewis is a current member of the Park Board, has done an excellent job, attended all meetings faithfully. I know he'll do a good job going forward. Any question or comment? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
E, Bruce Kegel to the Parks Board, term 4/1/15 to 4/1/19.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and second. Commissioners, once again, Mr. Eagles, current member of the Parks Board, has done a good job for us, attends on a regular basis. I know he'll do a good job going forward, so any question or comment? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
4, ordinances. A, second reading of KOC 611.12, 2015, an ordinance authorizing the establishment of assessment warrants for the Locust Hill area subdivision.
Motion approved. Second.
I have motion and second. Commissioners, as you recall, at our last meeting, Ms. Binky came and explained what we were doing. This is a result of sewers being extended into the subdivision. The project cost was $447,000. We were able to get an EPA grant to offset $173,000 of that cost, leaving a total amount after the EPA grant of $274,000. When you divide the number of properties into that amount, it works out to an assessment of $3,865.40 on each property. That Mr. Binky explained how folks can pay that over a period of 20 years, or they can pay it off at any time. This is not unusual. The amount is about what it's cost people in the past when we were able to get grants. Any question or comment? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
B, second reading of KOC 611.13, 2015, an ordinance authorizing the establishment of assessment warrants for Sunrise Drive subdivision.
Motion approved. Second.
I have motion second. Again, Commissioners, this is a sewer extension out into the Sunrise Drive area. If you recall, last 2 weeks ago, I talked about this is probably one that we should have done a long time ago. They tried to get some offsets for the folks out there through CDBG funds or EPA funds. Were unable to do that. The total cost of the project was $158,000. Divided by the 38.5 properties, will be an amount of $4,111.27 charged against that property for the extension of sewers. Again, those folks will have the opportunity to pay it off for a period of time or pay it off all at once. Any question or comment? Being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
C, first reading of KFC 620.7, 2015, an ordinance relating to the sidewalks requirement install, repair, and county furnishing cement concrete to property owner for reconstruction of sidewalks.
Commissioners, this is the first reading, so we don't need a motion or second. County Engineer Bragger, would you lead us through this?
Sure. This is in essence a modification to our current ordinance that deals with a property owner's responsibility to fix and repair existing sidewalk. I believe the county attorney went through and cleared up some of or modified some of the existing language, but the main part or main change is Section 2, which we address the installation of sidewalks. We do not currently have anything that dictates or puts a cap on how long property that's been developed can go without installing a sidewalk. That leads to when developments are being built out, it leaves with residential houses that have sidewalk in front of them, and then locations where there are no sidewalk. Well, after years and years, you'll end up with blank spots in the sidewalk paths. So people end up having to go from sidewalk out to the street, which creates a public safety issue. So Section 2 pretty much addresses that developer or the adjoining property owner that is responsible for sidewalk is required to put in that approved sidewalk within 5 years of the final plat.
Okay. Just a couple of things. One of the things that this does, I think, is it makes our neighborhoods more livable and walkable by assuring that the sidewalks get in a whole lot quicker. Secondly, does this and this is a result of multiple meetings with the Home Builders Association,
Yes.
and getting their input. And I appreciate all the time, effort that you put into this, as well as the home builders. One of the things that I found odd was that in a development, you could put sidewalk in and it not be inspected and accepted until 10 years later, at which time they would be required to fix in cracked sidewalks, chip sidewalks, which didn't seem fair to me. And this addresses that issue now. You will accept that sidewalk in, and when you do, it becomes that property owner's sidewalk. Is that correct?
Sure. In regards to this ordinance, it's going hand in hand with how we do surety, and
Right.
that addresses when we do approve it. We're now, once this is voted upon, we would now require that sidewalk be approved and inspected before a property owner gets their certificate of occupancy.
Right.
So instead of being out for multiple years without knowing if it is up to standards, it will be approved and inspected relatively soon after putting.
Yeah, really, by doing it at the end of the development, it takes the owner of the subdivision or the developer remains responsible for a lot of things that are out of their control.
And held accountable.
And held accountable. So, Commissioners, any question or comment?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
question, Mark. I like what you're presenting, and the judge had some good comments. The expense of this, and you talk about in the subdivision, and I know a lot of times the reason they don't continue that sidewalk on empty lots is probably if they went to build a house, they'd run over it and break it up anyway. So is the developer responsible for, say, the continuation of that sidewalk? Because in a lot of subdivisions, you don't fill up right away. Say Independent, will say, and you find empty lots out there. I would not like to see this be a burden on the homeowner, and somewhere, somehow, that expense, be shared. And most new homeowners just cannot afford any additional expense. They're excited to get this new house and all that, and if you say, well, you're going to have to find another $3,000 to pay for your sidewalk, then so we would not get, this fall back on the
In a perfect world, I understand that. In reality, I think this only applies within 5 years of the final plat. And typically, you're not going to developer show your final plat until you're ready to develop the rest of that subdivision. So they're not going to put them in, all of them, until that final plat is developed and submitted to MPC. I understand what you're saying, but the issue that I got would be that we've got to take care of those homeowners in that subdivision and make it available for them where the kids don't have to go out into the street. And I've seen subdivisions where final asphalt coat never goes down because there's one lot left. So that becomes a real issue. And I think that in this, you have some discretion as well, don't you, Mark?
Sure, there is I believe it is a letter C where obviously the developer, or typically the developer, but the owner of the adjoining property, owner of the property, can petition the county engineer for an extension.
Sure.
For instance, if there's no houses on cul-de-sac, maybe there's no need to put in sidewalks on that cul-de-sac. It's just bypass completely. So I think there's some flexibility in it as it's written that will allow for us to look at each and every situation. In regards to the property owner, I would look at it almost as a potential savings. For instance, property owner, when they build their house, the sidewalk is put in at that time. Well, if it's not inspected for 2 or 3 years and then come back and inspect and find that it's not up to standards, we come back to the property owner that's accountable. Well, they may have, and we've had it in the past, a hard time going back to the concrete contractor. They can't find them, or they're no longer in business, so they have to hire someone else to do it. With the way this is set up now, we're talking weeks after it's put in. If it's not right, they potentially go back to that contractor and have it put in correctly.
A lot of times, the paper trail, you can always follow it, but the developer sells several lots to a builder who sells an individual lot to Mr. Koger, who sells it to Mr. Wathen, who sells it to Mr. Mattingly, and pretty soon, no, Charlie wouldn't back because he's too tight. But I think this eliminates a whole lot of those headaches that home builders too have had.
Yeah.
And again, this is something we worked out, I think, to everyone's satisfaction.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
As far as I know.
Okay. Any other questions? Good comment, though, and
Well,
you
just
to-
looking for the protection of the homeowner, and if it worked out between when that homeowner bought the house from a developer, if they worked that out in the beginning. I know in some situations, people moves into a house and they just don't have any extra money, and that's what I'm looking at, is a scare tactic of down the road, you know.
Well, I think in that case, now that I understand, that sidewalk already going to be there, and there's not going to be, the house is already there, so you're not going to have trucks going over that
Right.
sidewalk, which they would be responsible for, so
Yes.
they're protected, I think. The question would be what happens to the person who buys a lot, and at the end of 5 years, the developer's required to build it out. The owner of the lot now has a sidewalk. When they decide to build, somebody's going to have to go over it in a truck. That could be a potential problem. Okay. All right, that's first reading. We'll talk about it again at our next meeting. Next item, Jenny.
Consideration for discussion, A, other business to be brought before the Daviess County Fiscal Court, and do have one. In your binder, under regular business, there's resolution number 3, 2015, a resolution of the Daviess County Fiscal Court establishing a subdivision street lighting district.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Mark, did you put that in there?
This did not.
What?
This one here.
That's this one.
Ms. Hardesty did.
Oh, well, Ms. Hardesty, since you put it in there and I didn't know it was in there, would you explain it to us? Yes. Pull your thingy down there and. Oh, thank you.
Paul Martin owns all the lot in the subdivision, and he's asking for a street lighting district to be established.
Okay.
For Winthrop Ridge.
Right. And what do we, just for the folks out in TV land and in the audience, called, what do we normally do to establish a street lighting district?
That's what we did here.
Do-
The developer petitions asked the court to approve the street lighting district. They approve it. They made an arrangement with the utility provider. They assess each owner for
Bills added to the tax bill, the
tax
electric bill
or
is,
they can be paid
okay,
at time of closing if they want to pay it all lump sum. But
Okay.
typically, it's done and add on to the tax bill.
okay. Question or comment by the commission? Question or comment by the public? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Big public comments.
This is time in our meeting during which we ask the public to come to the podium, give us your name and address, and you're welcome to address the court on any item other than what's on the agenda. No takers? Yes, sir.
My name's Philip Anderson. I reside at 4126 Golden Maple Court in Owensboro. When we started this meeting, I prayed that we would have, that you gentlemen would have wisdom, courage, and understanding. And I had opportunity this week to see that you've been blessed with that. Got some good assistance from Dave Smith, Al, from yourself, and especially from Mike Koger. I want to thank you guys for assisting me in my situation. I've come to the realization that I think now that I didn't realize everything the county commissioners do. And I come to the opinion now that if I even had trouble with mother-in-law, I would call mom.
Well, let me assure you that that's the person you should call.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys very much for assisting me this week.
You're quite welcome, and that's what we are here to do, to help any way we can. Sometimes everything works out great, sometimes things don't work out so great, but we're very happy to assist anybody that asks us for help. Commissioner, nothing? Okay. Next, anyone else? Oh, God, I saw all those new faces out there. If we hadn't had this meeting at 5 o'clock, they probably wouldn't have showed up.
Well, I was talking to them a while ago, and they said
They've been here
wished
since
it-
4?
Been here since 4.
Okay. Next item.
Comments by Daviess Fiscal Court.
I'm not gonna let them talk. They've already made me mad. Commissioner Koger,
Yes, sir.
any comments?
Well, Judge.
Okay, Commissioner Wathen.
I'm glad that I know if I have any problems with my mother-in-law, and I don't know who called.
Yeah, good luck with that. Commissioner Caslin.
The only thing I want to do is wish our friends over at OHS good luck as they pursue their championship. They got through the first round, and hopefully they can. Are you pulling from Claude? I thought I saw where they might be taking on your old alma mater. No, that's okay. All right.
Okay.
That's it.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Nothing. Well, on that same vein, I would like to, encourage the Wildcats and Louisville Cardinals and the Murray Racers. The Murray's in the NIT.
They are.
I think it's all we got in there. Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. Is Bellman playing in NAI? I guess is in CA too. Okay. Westland didn't make it. Bummer. Okay. Your dad's not real happy, is he, Dave? That's what I thought. I also want to remind everyone our April 2nd meeting. The new time is 11:30 a.m. We're going to try one more time.
You know, we can probably fill the house up.
Well, that's that's Holy Thursday, and there are a lot of activities going on starting late that afternoon. So I want to make sure everyone had an opportunity to go to church if they want. I want to take this opportunity once again to thank road crew for all that they did during all the snows. Mark, I hope you passed that on to them and didn't just think we were thanking you. You thank you in your paycheck every week. I want to thank Animal Control. We've had some animal control issues, but they did the job, and I want to thank Ashley Clark in particular for her help. Commissioners, I want to take this time to perhaps just make a comment, a statement, and add a clause of where we might go. Over the past 3 or 4 years, since I've become judge executive, I can tell you that Daviess County is changing. We used to be the city of Owensboro, city of Whitesville, and a very rural county. Today, we're the city of Owensboro, city of Whitesville, and a very urban and suburban county. We have many subdivisions and groups of residential homes in the county. We have a property maintenance code that is difficult to enforce at best, doesn't address a lot of the issues. If you recall, 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, we passed the animal control ordinance update or amendments because we had people who were raising farm animals in subdivisions in very densely packed areas where side yards are 5 foot, where your side window is 5 yards or 10 foot, I guess, from your neighbor's window. My proposal is that Daviess County Fiscal Court look at updating their property maintenance ordinance and code to address those sorts of issues in our subdivisions. Now, before anyone gets upset, I'm certainly not saying that we need to address property maintenance code issues in rural areas other than how we've done it right now. But places like the Downs, Thoroughbred East, Lake Forest, areas where you have residential areas, areas where there are lots of homes. Perhaps there's a place that comes to mind is Southgate Avenue around Carter's Lake. You've got about 10 or 15 homes down that road that are zoned residential. Perhaps we name the areas that we're talking about, but I think it's time that we bring property maintenance in Daviess County into the 21st century. And Claude, won't you, I know the property maintenance code that we enforce right now was generated in 2000. That's the latest revision.
And I don't think that was a significant revision from a much earlier one.
Right. Very difficult to enforce.
It is.
Mike Hamilton is that person to enforce it, and it's extremely difficult to enforce.
It's vague at best, and maybe unreadable and enforceable in some instances. I think previous court at one time had suggested something, mentioned something, and I think about 5 or 6 years ago I started making some amendments and changes to try to put in provisions that at least the court could consider and decide whether they might be more enforceable and more reasonable, and then we could decide what kinds of areas they would apply to, particularly in those areas you've mentioned, the more densely populated ones, ones that are either zoned as residential, maybe even going further than that in defining density proportion or size, and we can certainly look at those, and I would suggest if there's a way of having some input from citizens within the county and from others to give us an idea about what we're talking about so we can get an idea about what they think that would work.
Do you think probably the proper way to go, and Commissioner chime in here because you're going to take the brunt of the comment from the public when they think that we're doing something that they don't want us to do, appoint a committee, commissioner on there, you on there certainly to guide us, and some people from the public.
Since I'm going to be the one at the end, the county attorney's office in the end will have to enforce it if it goes beyond. Now we have it would be the same format. The solid waste coordinator or some person would be designated and would be the enforcement and notice of violations, much like we do with animal control. In the end, it would come through court if there was a failure to complete those. And so yes, I'd like to at least have some input into how we word those.
Mr. Caslin, give me your comments. What do you think?
Well, I'm generally in support of looking at seeing what changes need to be made. I know as in my 4 years as a county commissioner that I've got a number of calls from people over the years that have been really frustrated by how slow we might address issues. And sometimes, as Claude said, that our ordinance is vague, and sometimes we go out and look at it with Mike, and it's like not really much we can do here. So, I do I would support us looking at that, and I like the idea of committee to where we can have input from a broader base.
Commissioner?
I agree. I think we need to be real careful as we move forward. One of the big emphasis for me is the vagueness of current policy that's in place is it's hard to deal with. I have I could give you 3 or 4 instances where right now most people would agree that we have a problem, but there's nothing we can do because of the vagueness of the ordinance. So I think we would maybe start with what we think the intention of the current policy is and take some of the vagueness out.
Okay.
Maybe, start there.
Mm-hmm.
And then move forward and be real careful about, I want to emphasize that we be real careful about moving out into the wide open spaces, so to speak. We don't need to worry so much about adding any rules and regulations to those people that don't have anybody within a half mile of their house.
Well, and to go back, that's kind of the way we took the animal control
Right, exactly.
ordinance. We didn't want to impact agriculture. We didn't want to impact rural residents, because what you do to your house on 100 acres, it's not impacting anyone but you. What you do at your house on a half-acre lot among 500 houses impacts a whole lot of people.
Right.
So
So,
no, I agree with that comment. Commissioner Koger?
I agree, starting with the basis we have, moving up forward. I know in some situations you may find, disturbed vehicles sitting out there, that is always an issue. You want to keep your neighborhoods cleaned up. Sometimes when you look from a healthy environment of children and families, that it could be a house sitting next to you that hasn't been anything done, but for many years you get rodents in it, et cetera, and then we get restricted, but I mean, just can't do anything with it, and that's a problem. So I think we're moving in the right direction, and I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm excited about moving forward with it.
Jenny, you're going to serve as secretary or whatever, probably. So would you remind me tomorrow, and we'll start to look at that committee. Commissioners, I will work with each of you for recommendations for people to serve on that committee. Claude, I think probably keep it fairly small, 5, 6 people.
Right.
Probably, well, anyway, we'll talk about that.
Mike Hamilton needs to be on that.
Mike Hamilton needs to be there. Yeah. That's all I have tonight. I think that was probably enough. All of you will get phone calls tomorrow, and I'm sure I will. If there's no other business brought for Daviess County Fiscal Court without exception, we're adjourned.